do these two correlate within the same lifetime?
See, we've been doing this question of destiny, this question of karma, this question of how much free will does a human being have. We've been doing it for a long time. Now, there's a lot of confusion in the general mind or the general understanding of these concepts. Yogis have no confusion. They know exactly how it works because before you get enlightened, one of the necessary but not sufficient stages of the process is that you get what is called the Punya Smriti, the pure memory, or the Purna Smriti, the full memory, where when you are in meditation, you can see every incarnation of yours right down to practically the amoeba. So you get that whole thing of you understand how this got created. Now, the question that Pia is asking is basically, how do we reconcile the operating of destiny with the operating of free will? How can we say that on the one hand we have chosen and on the other hand we are breaking what we have chosen? So is that not a contradiction? Yes, it's a contradiction if you buy into the notion that we have complete agency, that we have 100% agency, and we can, that we have a lot of new age spiritual circles do say that we kind of sit and we negotiate the life that we will have. You are shown and there is some masters and these are the souls you will come into contact with, and that's very hopeful, but unfortunately that's bullshit. It doesn't happen that way because there are two three main aspects of karma that you have to understand. Karmana, which is actually the correct word for the process and the effect, though it is called karma today, so let us use the word karma, but actually the word is karmana. Karmana only means that the universe has one and only one law, and that is all actions have consequences. Even the gods are not exempt. Karma is greater than the gods. So if there is a good action, there are good consequences. If there is a bad action, there are bad consequences. All actions have consequences, and the whole point and purpose of yoga is to come to a place where the action no longer creates consequences. Many yogic schools want to break out of that wheel completely. To the extent that we have agency, if you just look at our lives, you realize how much we are at the mercy of external circumstances. I have made this point before also. When we are going to be born, we have no choice in the matter. What gender we are going to be born, we have no choice in the matter. What place in the world, what language, what race, what community, what education, whatever lovely or bizarre name you get, in none of these things we have any agency. But these are the things that make up our personality in the end. These early life experiences, they imprint us. So in that sense, if you look at it, there is not much leeway. You don't have much leeway. A large part of what you are, and the yogis go one step further and they say, these are the consequences of your vasana samaskaras. Now, vasana samaskaras are very important concepts because vasanas are your basic innate vibrations and samaskaras are your tendencies. And the more you indulge, for instance, for me, my tea business is both a vasana and a samaskara. I just can't break this thing of tea, and the energy that I will need to break that habit is too strong. I don't want to dissipate that much energy in just breaking that, so I let it be. It's not a major issue. But it is fundamentally a vasana samaskara because it's not like I need tea to wake up, like many people need tea to wake up, and get the brain clear, and because there are chemicals in the tea which make you think better and they make you feel better. It's not that, it's just something that is very innate, it's very deep. So your vasana is your desire. I mean, this is very broad generalization, but it's a useful rule of thumb. Your vasanas are your desires, and your samaskaras are the tendencies. Your samaskaras are the patterns of habit that you find yourself in. And these things only get repeated lifetime after lifetime. The unique personality never reincarnates. Now, this is something that those outside the hardcore schools of yoga don't realize. When we talk of reincarnation or rebirth, we keep thinking that the unique personality will come back. And the unique personality is a one-time shot. This time, whatever you are, that's the only time. What goes forward is always your vasana samskara. Is always your vasana samskara. And there is something much deeper. There is a concept called Rinanubandhan. Rinanubandhan literally means the debt bond. We owe things to people, people owe things to us. All relationships, all interactions are possible from the yogic perspective only if there is Rinanubandhan. Shirdi Sai Baba used to say even a dog won't come up next to you and ask for food unless it has some Rinanubandhan with you. And then he went to the extent of saying even paint has Rinanubandhan with the wall. That is why it stays. When the Rinanubandhan is over, it flicks off. So for him it was the core concept. The whole debt bond. That is what makes us come to the same set of circumstances, the same sets of relationships. We keep running into the same people across lifetimes. We are not even running into the personalities. We are running into the vasana samaskaras. And it's something that all yogis discourage very deeply. Don't go looking for your past life. This whole business of past life regression, they are sincere people, but they are mistaken. 95% of it is just manufactured memory, and today the whole school of examining this issue of how memories can be induced is very clear. And if you read books and you watch TV, you can create entire lifetimes out of your imagination. It's not at all a difficult task. And just by asking the right kind of questions, you can trigger the right kind of memory, which is not even true. So, other than an enlightened master, nobody is allowed to tell you about past lives. And when you are in meditation, whatever actual knowledge you need to know, which would be of help, it comes up. So, unfortunately, it has become a fad, PLR, past life regression, and that is the reason why I have this pain, because, I was stabbed with a spear when I was in this place. And no, it's usually some childhood trauma that you haven't processed. Most of the pains and worries that you're carrying in your body is usually childhood trauma. It's very rarely something that is from a past life. But that is not the point. The point is when you do this past life business, you find that your relationships have been a shocking mess. I've been doing this for a long time, and one of my early experiences with this was somebody who did this and found out that his wife was his mother in his previous life. So now he is in complete mess. From a psychological point of view, it makes a lot of sense. So many guys end up, they're basically looking for a mom in there. That's a whole Oedipal complex, but the point is, you have not done the process. There are yogic processes where you are ready to deal with the consequence of this knowledge. Karma is veiled from us. It is covered from us for a reason. If we knew all the extent of vasana samaskara, all the extent of the stickiness, all the extent of the evil that we have done to people and have been done in return to us, human relationships would be impossible. So for that reason, this knowledge is veiled, because especially if you had a wonderful lifetime and this lifetime is difficult, it just sends you further into depression. So there are multiple reasons why that knowledge is not given, and when it is time to know, you will know. And before you know all your lifetimes, you cannot be enlightened. That is one of the mandatory non-negotiable steps or stages in the process. You have to know your previous lifetimes, or you cannot be enlightened, no matter how much you progress otherwise in Shakti. So in terms of free will, as you can see, each lifetime is a very complex soup. There are too many ingredients. Yeah. In psychology, in medicine, they know all symptoms are overdetermined. There is no one reason why a person falls ill. There are multiple complex. There is lifestyle, there is health, there is genetics, there is environment, there is food, there is resilience, there is all symptoms are overdetermined. Karma yoga knows that. The reason why you are, if you start in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that in one very terse phrase, Gahano karmana gati. Deep is the flow of karma. You cannot get to that. It is too deep. The purpose is not to understand why. The purpose is not to recreate these circumstances. The purpose is to do processes whereby the karmic stream is stopped and then the backlog is cleared, and then you are now free. Every action that you do, you can do in a manner that does not create fresh karma. That is the whole purpose of yoga. So how much agency do we have? Very little, about 5%. Because if we look at who we are, everything was predetermined. Each one of us is the result of impossible odds. If you look at the biological odds, your parents had to come together, their parents had to come together, their parents had to come together. Any one time an accident or a lion or a drowning could have stopped you from being a possibility. So very often the physical karma stops. The number of connections that have to be made for a person to be possible, if you look at it, it's impossible. Because each one of us is proof that the chain of life is unbroken till us. The biological chain of life. Somebody was there before. But very often when you advance in yoga, you see something very odd, that at least in reproductive terms or in biological terms, that karma is not going forward. That person is the last one. No children. Or their children don't have children. That's usually one of the signs that the physical karma has come to an end. The family, they don't have any more children. They just stopped having children. So the physical karma that had caused that chain of succession to come has come to an end. Of course, the vasana samskaras remain so that people can reincarnate. But at least in that family is biological, or that khandan ka jo karma, family karma is very, 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 very important. Then samajik karma is also very important. So people ask, when there is an accident or a catastrophe, did it mean that all those people's karmas converged at that one point? Not necessarily. It could just be that you were unlucky and to be in a place where the samajik karma was bad. And you just got. So like I am saying, this how karma works is too deep and complex. Let's not get into that. We'll stick to Pia's original point of agency. Like how much we have 5%. We have 5% agency. We have what is called Purushakara or Purushartha. Purushakara means conscious will, conscious action. We can take a decision that I will not be a prisoner of my Vasana Samskara or my Rinanubandhan. I will now put in a fresh element. I will do a catalytic process. I will introduce a new and disruptive element into my entire karmic stream, which will then take it into more enlightening or more feasible or more, it's very odd. I've been doing hand reading, face reading, not astrology, tarot, I Ching, all for so many years. I never read for myself. Because in yoga, you understand that every situation has multiple possible outcomes. If you use a technique like that and you open it out, then you are frozen to that one line of possibility. That's it. You are frozen to it. Now there is no chance. It is like the wire is being covered with insulation. You cut open the insulation to see what is inside.
But
Now
if
deal with
you
it.
are doing any of these things also,
Yeah.
suppose numerology if you do,
Yeah.
there also every number has many possibilities.
Correct.
Positives, negatives.
The minute you look at an outcome, you are frozen to that outcome. Now, I'm not saying that's always bad. Sometimes you need the help. Sometimes you need the input. Sometimes you need that reassurance. It's not always bad. But as a yogi, I know that what I can do with my brain and my skill is much less than what consciousness can do if I trust in it. So people are very taken aback that you don't check. I'm like, no, I don't. No, and I wrote 2 books on the tarot. I'm the only guy with 2 books on the tarot in the country. So that disconcerts them even more. But no, I don't. So this notion of trying to manage life, I keep telling people, if you try to too rigidly control karma, it will bite you in the backside. Life doesn't like to be controlled. Life has a certain innate rhythm, and most of yoga is finding that what is my natural rhythm, what is my laya, which is why in the original sense yoga was known as laya yoga. What is my natural rhythm, what is my rhythm, and how am I vibrating? Am I vibrating naturally in sync with the universe, or is my vibration completely off? So all these processes we do, Sannidhi, meditation, pranayama, all those things we do are to bring us more and more into the natural vibration of the universe, which is the entire Chinese, Japanese, the Zen and the Taoist. The whole thing is just be natural, vibrate at the rhythm of the universe, which is Laya Yoga. At a very simple level, that is Laya Yoga. Now in India, because we've been doing it from the time of the Indus Valley, we have more tools and techniques. We are the only people who can give a guarantee to a person, if you do what I say for 13 years, you will be enlightened at the end of it. We have the methodology. We have guaranteed methods to make people enlightened. Some of them are pretty drastic, but the guarantee is the guarantee. It does work. The stupidest, dumbest person can be made enlightened in 13 years. Most of the other systems, it's hit and miss. It works for a particular zone. It works for 25%, maybe 30%. Yoga knows that one size does not fit all. You have to give different prescriptions. But to come back to the point about agency, how does one increase one's Purushakara? How does one increase one's Purushartha? Because either you can choose. Now see, it's not like in India there have not been deterministic schools. Calvinism, for instance, is a school of Christianity which believes that all of us, when we are born, we are going to hell. Yeah, we are damned, we are condemned as soon as we are born. Then God, out of His infinite grace, can decide, okay, you guys can come to heaven. And there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. It is just whimsical on His part. Now, one of the signs of grace they thought was that God allows you to be prosperous. So the entire business mindset that triggered off the Industrial Revolution can directly be traced back to Calvinism. It is one of the signs of grace that you are prosperous. You are one of what they call the elect. Similarly, Islam has a very deterministic, that everything is already carved in stone. Everything is already. We had a bunch of people called the Ajivikas who were the same. They were very, very, very popular. They were contemporaries of Buddha, Mahavira. They were very popular in royal circles. They used to get a lot of patronage, a lot of monasteries, because naturally every king likes to hear that whatever you do is already determined, because then he can do whatever money he wants. He can do, so that was always going to be very popular with ruling circles, But to a large extent it is true, because once you understand Vasana, Samskara and Rinanubandhan, you do realize what choice do I have, what agency do I have. In real terms, a large part of spirituality is just acceptance of limitations. This is going to be possible, this is not going to be possible. Because there are physical limitations. Your body has a certain zone within which it can function through doing Hatha Yoga, through doing bodily processes, you can increase and widen that zone, but still there is a physical limitation, and that is in most cases genetic. Now, some people are exceedingly strong, some people are not strong. Some people are very resilient even though they are not strong. Some very strong people are real phuskis, they just so there is a certain band of possibility. You can explore to the fullest. You can even push the boundaries of that, but there does come a point when it cuts off. Similarly with your mind, similarly with your emotion, but with your pranamaya kosha, with your ki, with your inner energy body, there is no limitation. That is infinite. So that is where we need to work. What is the most important thing in life? Breathing. So we work with that most important thing and we expand, and as soon as your pranamaya kosha expands, your emotional bandwidth expands, your mental bandwidth expands, and your physical bandwidth expands. Your state of health becomes more, your state of strength becomes more. So in the end we have to work with the breath for that reason. That is the foundation of everything. That 5% agency that you have is enough. And there are so many wonderful methodologies in the world today. Take up whatever vibrates well with you and push it. Push it really hard. Because the other problem is that people do want to change, but they don't want to endure difficulty. They want to change in comfort. Now, change and comfort are antagonistic terms. They cannot happen. All change happens only in discomfort. Which is why I keep saying that yoga is for people who are already healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, but everybody comes jab dande baraste hai. The damaged people come to spirituality because until that pain of living activates in them, they don't seek something larger than themselves. In tarot, the first thing you learn is nobody comes because their life is going well. Everybody comes because their life is having trouble. So your experience of the tarot becomes just one of endless pain, sorrow, suffering, disheartenment, disappointment, heartbreak. And that's a very sad thing to happen. So a lot of these things, what happens is that the negative side unconsciously is strengthened all the time. So that's not the yogic or even the tarot method, because tarot is a European yoga, but the point is it does happen. So one needs to be careful. So coming again back to your point, the point of sadhana, the point of optimal living is to increase your domain of agency. What can I do? What are the techniques available? What are the methodologies available? And one will not fit. Of course, everybody should learn to breathe optimally. That is a different matter altogether. That is fundamental. But after that, after you learn how to breathe optimally, then what do? That will not, it cannot be a blanket prescription. Which is why if you do not have one-to-one access with a mentor, with a guru, the word guru is so pathetically overused. Rahul Gandhi says that Manmohan is my guru in politics. Now that is the level it has come to. If that person is your guru, then no wonder you are in such trouble. Because the word guru, it has two vibrations. Fundamentally, it means a person who's heavy with attainment. The word literally means heavy. The person has become grounded. The person has become very heavy with attainment. And it also, the word gao or go in Vedic Sanskrit is different from classical Sanskrit. The word go means the spiritual vibration or light. So go rakshaka matlab, not a cowboy, but Goraksha means the person who protects the light. Or Gopala, Krishna, it's not that he was running around with cows, but he is protecting the light. And the cow was supposed to be saved, jo baad mein it became don't eat beef. In the Vedas, everybody used to eat beef bindas. Yeah, I know this is going to sound very shocking, but it's true. Yeah. No, it shocks most people. Swami Vivekananda used to be very naughty. So he used to be asked, what is your favorite part of the Vedas? And he would say, those verses where 5 brahmanas sit down and polish off one cow. They eat one cow at one go. So today we have created all these where we keep whitewashing our old texts, anything that deals with non-vegetarianism, we whitewash. Anything that deals with alcohol, we whitewash. Anything that deals with sex, we completely pretend it didn't happen. And we were, in many terms, the most sensual and sexually aware and mature people in the world. Not today. Today we are God's frozen people. Yeah. That whole thing broke. That whole yogic approach to sexuality broke. I'm not going to waste it. One day it will be one of my best talks. One day I will talk on the yogic approach to relationships and sexuality, because it will just explode your mind. It will be like I threw one stick of dynamite into your mind, because you don't realize how we used to design our relationships and how we used to deal with the issue of sexuality. Today we are in bad shape. Because what has happened is, in the Vedic times, the people of the highest consciousness would talk about politics, they would talk about money, they would talk about sexuality. Once the Kali Yuga started, human beings went into survival mode, and especially the spiritual people, they were just desperately trying to save whatever remained of the sadhanas. And so this sort of tendency and habit grew up that spiritual people or people of higher consciousness should not talk about politics, should not talk about money, should not talk about sexuality. Whereas in reality, only they should talk about, because otherwise you have all these damaged and greedy and power hungry and lecherous people driving the agenda. And I get it all the time. You say these things, you are a yogi, you should. That just using the word sex apparently gets people. Why do you talk about relationship? Why do you talk about sexuality? I'm like, a person like me only should talk about it. Why do you talk about money? Because we have this real fascination and repulsion towards money in the country, which is absolutely wrong. And that's a recent unfortunate phenomenon. India used to be the richest country in the world up to the time of the Mughals. After that, we started going down. Always we were the richest country in the world. So basic abundance and yoga and all were not possible for people who were not in abundance. Rajneesh, he was right when he said, I don't want poor people, because poor people cannot do yoga. I want people who have succeeded and realize that there is more, that the success is not adequate for an optimal life. He was absolutely 100% right. In Holi, you are supposed to wear brand new silk clothes and go out and play Holi. It's there in the text. What do? We select the most. Yeah. Poverty consciousness. It has become, and don't think that just because you live in a swanky building and you come out in a Maybach or an Audi that you don't have poverty consciousness, because as soon as you come out, you see somebody living under tarpaulin on the footpath. That is a human possibility that is always in front of you, and whether you acknowledge it or not, it registers in your consciousness. So in India, the fear of being poor is hardwired. And plus there were so many famines and all that kind of stuff. But that was all mostly a British then to us. Mughal and British then. We started going down from the time of the Mughals. The golden age of the Mughals was golden for about 7,000 people on top who were the ruling class. For the rest, whether Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, it did not matter. They're just suffering. Akbar was the last somewhat decent king we had. After that, we just descended into hell. So that's a different matter altogether. But the core of yoga is to expand agency, to expand what is your sphere of influence, what is your sphere of possibility. Accepting the limitations, accepting that my body has a certain space beyond which I cannot push it, accepting that my mind has a certain space. Or natural levels of intelligence. We don't like to say it today, but some people are not intelligent. just simple level. Some people are not intelligent. They are thick, and some people are super intelligent. Intelligent does not mean emotionally intelligent also. It just means that at a mental level they function well. Some people are emotionally thick, some people are emotionally very savvy, they are very so there are certain limitations. Okay, you have these limitations, accept it. Now what do we do? Understanding vasana, understanding samaskara, understanding Rinanubandhan. Now what do we do? Therefore, all the levels of yama, niyama, all those kind of rules, disciplines, understanding these are ways, yama, niyama, and all the Ashtanga Yoga are ways to negotiate these limitations that being alive places on you. There are ways to negotiate that. But please understand something. We are the only culture in the world, where the human being is more important than the gods.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I keep reading about yamas and niyamas everywhere. There's even blogs being written, and there's amazing books also being written about
Correct.
it. But somehow the kind of stuff I read doesn't even apply to any sane person.
It's all holy, and it's all ashram centric.
It's very, very prescriptive, and
Yeah.
it's very limiting. It doesn't even expand you at any stage. Like I think of those yamas and niyamas, I'm like, I'm not going to bother myself.
They don't know. Most of the commentaries are for people who learnt in ashrams. They've learnt after they become
like
swamis.
Niyama of brahmacharya doesn't mean that you cannot have sex. It's stupid.
Brahmacharya is
It's totally out of context.
one of the most misunderstood and misused words.
Yeah.
Like I say, one day I'll talk about it.
It's like yamas and niyamas are not even
Yamas, but we are in a fragmented state of our culture. No, we are not in a place where the culture. Some other time. I'll get onto that. We won't.
The disciplines that you place on your own body and the discipline that you need to express yourself through.
What are your rules? What are your disciplines?
What are your rules and what are your disciplines, basically?
There has to be individual to everybody, right? Or is
Well,
it common?
not
It has
quite.
to be a very broader
There are
discipline.
samajik, there are parivarik, and then there are, so it's complex.
Layers within it.
Yeah, it's very complex. So I don't like to get into yama niyama because then I'll go on for 3 hours,
That is the kind of topic.
Yeah.
And we had a 6 months course on it when I was studying my yoga lesson course in 1 year, and we still did not get the full grasp of it. It was
That's
so
because they are
hard.
functioning from the body. They are functioning, the whole yoga that they do is only to develop the body. So the yama niyama also becomes a bodily.
Yeah.
And that is pathetic. The whole point of asanas is to be able to sit in meditation, If you can sit in meditation, then you drop the asanas, and to keep your body healthy. See, these are how it got fragmented. Because, spiritual people, no, I don't even touch money, So the spiritual people, the minute they stopped, or people of higher consciousness, I don't even like to use the word spiritual, it's a very pretentious word today. I am spiritual, not religious. It makes no sense. If you are spiritual, whether you know it or not, you have reverence to something. That is a religious attitude. You are worshipping, consciously, unconsciously. Most of the time, people worship fame, money, looking hot. Those are what the Bible calls the false gods. And don't think they are not gods, and don't think that there aren't energies behind that and giving you chabi to stimulate that kind of mentality in you. There are. That's not the point. The point is we need to bring it back. That yoga was to live life optimally, not to run away from it, not to renounce it. Renunciation was at age 75. Vanaprastha was at 50. 25 years after you had done your social duties, you would go. 25 years you would learn. And then sannyasa would happen at age 75. So, even the Varnashrama Dharma people don't know what the actual prescriptions are. It's just pathetic. It's this whole Buddhist Jain attitude of, instant renunciation everywhere. Buddha came back to Kapilavastu after his enlightenment, and he just went around initiating everybody in the city. His son, his cousin, everybody, until finally his father had to put an end to it, saying, what is this? There won't be one young man left. So then the rule was that if you are not an adult, you have to have the consent of the parents to be and that his father made that because he was just left, right. He had this one hammer in his hand, so he saw nails everywhere. Diksha, Diksha, Diksha. Just give Diksha to everybody. But Buddha was not the only person walking around the country at that time. There were absolutely awesome people, probably greater than him. Mahavira, for instance, was one of them, his contemporary, but there were other people. There were people like Makali Gosala, there were Ajita Keshakambal, and they were all weird, crazy wisdom kind of masters. Especially Ajita Keshakambal, because even his word, the name is not a real name, it's a joke. It means invincible hair blanket. And he was a complete bonkers kind of aghori, and it's a pity that that stream, for whatever reason, died up because this got corporatized. There was a sangha, then there were donations, there were hierarchy. So organized ho gaya. So today we know about Buddha, Mahavira, and all that. But the fact is, there were other people. At that time, it was an extraordinary time, and in context, when you look at it, they were probably more useful to us. People like Ajit Keshakambal were probably more useful to us. So again, because we don't know our history, we don't know our culture, we don't know anything about yoga. Yoga was just like breathing. Then it became a specialty business, and that is the day the decline started. Somewhere around the 13th century, yoga became a specialty. It didn't become something that just people normally do. That is when the decline started. But there are historical reasons. Cultures go through old age. Now, hopefully, we are in a rejuvenation stage, where we have done the Kaya Kalp and now we are coming back. But fundamentally, agency is there. And that 5% agency, that 5% free will, that 5% Purushakara or Purushartha is enough. More than that, if you ask, you're being very greedy. That 5% is enough. Yes? Sarvam Shivamaya.